Welcome back to Chosen Gen Z Podcast, where we stand out from the rest, but we're blessed. And guess what? That is the best. And if you're new here, welcome, welcome. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Joshua Hargrove. I am a podcaster of Chosen Gen Z Podcast. So basically, this is a faith based, knowledge engaging, non judgmental community where we just share about the journeys and the testimonials of life as a Gen Z. Just understanding that we are striving to become better versions of ourselves, being set apart and different from the normality of the world that we see today. Thank you all for joining and for tuning in. Like, share, and subscribe the video as much as you would like, as this is going to be a very first episode of Chosen Gen Z Podcast. So in today's video, we will be discussing just a phrase that is highly familiar. It has been said so many times, perceived in multiple ways. And the name of this podcast is "Just Do It." Let's just go ahead and dive into it. Basically, when I hear that term and phrase, I it's funny because my mind just immediately traces back to that viral video of Shia LaBeouf saying it in the most aggressive and motivational way. Um, and to be honest, it was so hilarious to me and my brothers when we were younger because it wasn't what he was saying. It was the approach of how he said it. But as we got older, it's kind of stuck with us mentally. And as me and myself, it stuck with me mentally, um, because it was definitely pertaining to whatever we put our mind into. And I'm not gonna lie, I'll find myself back on that video during low points in my life, and for some reason, it just does something to me internally. So, shout out to Shia LaBeouf, y'all, for his projection and his intention of that motivation because it is motivating. So, with however he felt in that video, I don't care what he was going through, whatever he felt in that video, he said it in the most like projective way however us humans can receive it. So sometimes you have to react how your mind is projecting you to react, but not in a negative way. Like if it's positive, then yeah. And I could tell like in that video it was very positive, very energetic, really aggressively inspirational, and it became a motivational viral speech. Which it's been a saying for years, even way before that video. So just do it is just something that uh, it's a declaration over yourself. It's a declaration. So not only did that memory of looking at that video of Shia LaBeouf, not only that became a memory mentally, but it gave me like a view of how I view my life, how I look at my life, seeing the fact that, I may have goals and dreams, but before I even attempt, project, or attempt to achieve or accomplish those believable duties, I have stumbling blocks. And I'm pretty sure you guys, y'all can relate. Every time you try to do something, it seems like there's always a stumbling block. There's always something that's preventing you from moving forward, and there's always something preventing you if God tells you to do something, but you always feel attacked. You always feel like you see a wall that's a brick wall that's just standing there and you're trying to go through it and you want to go through that brick wall, but you can't because it's just there and is there, and it's crazy because it's always a stumbling block in your path, literally at the time when you're getting ready to proceed into going for your dream, going for your goal, going for the thing that you see yourself going into. But back to what I was saying, I have stumbling blocks. And when you go for a certain dream or goal, there's always going to be is always going to be a rough start, you know. Um but people to say that it's an easy start to um make your dreams come true or make your visions come true, trust me, is not. And they are a darn lie, because I had dreams and visions of doing a lot of stuff, and still currently have dreams and visions of doing a lot of stuff. And when you're young, you know, when you're young and you you believe in a lot of stuff. You know, you're gullible at a certain age, and you want to be a lot of things. You believe it too. Like, you have confidence that you're going to grow up to be this, to be this individual. Like, when I grew up, I wanted to, I wanted to be a fighter because not only I was fascinated by what they were doing, but I was fascinated by their passion. And their passion was to rescue people out of the fire. Um, and that's what I wanted to do. When I seen that, I'm like, okay, um, I want to be a firefighter because I want to help people. And I was always like that compassionate type of person. I try to be. But I was always like that passionate. I hate to see people in a rut, and I'm not able to help them, right then and instant because I don't have certain resources. And I always wanted to help them at, like, right at that instinct. That was something that I was looking forward into. But as you get older, and as I got older, I started to see my trajectory change. I started to see my fascination of my dream of being a fighter started fading away. Stop what you're dreaming about and when you've been dreaming about since you were little and what you wanted to be when you grow up. But what I'm saying is, like, everybody has their own their own dreams and their goals. And when you grow older, some things happens. Life is lifing. you know Things occur. um People be people. Things things don't tend to be how you want it to. So you start to doubt the fact that you wanted to be that type of person that you are passionate about. So that's what I did. I really didn't see myself being a fighter anymore. I just wanted to, I was still compassionate. I want to be compassionable, but I looked to this other role of being a motivational speaker, which is, you're helping people, but you're encouraging, you're helping them by putting words, positivity, I'm sorry, positive affirmations back into their mind, their heart, their spirit, so it can let them know that whatever that they're going through, that is not the last resort. Like, their situation is not a last resort. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. So things like that. Things can change, but what stopped me from doing what I wanted to do, you know, was procrastination. And I think that's like the biggest stumbling block of any dreamer, any goal chaser, any visionary. Is always a stumbling block. And to be honest, it don't always appear when you try to do something. Like, most of the time, I try to do things right away, right on schedule, so I don't have to worry about, the backlash that comes after that, which is always going to be something up ahead. You try to think fast, that instinct, but it's always something that's going to block your thought process, and now you're in a pit, and it feels like you can't get out of it. So it don't always appear to be a stumbling block when you're trying to do something. Now, yes, there is going to be some trials and some tribulations. It's going to be some storms that feels like you cannot get out of it. And that's what I've been feeling like. It was a lot of things internally. Now, I may have not went through what the older generation and what my parents went through, but me as being a young person, and I hope you guys can relate to this. When you go through things internally, even when you're home and when you're not at home, when you're with friends or when you don't have no friends, when you're at school and when you're not in school, when you in college and when you're not in college, there is some, there is some internal things that we go through that feels like it's hard to get out of. And, most times, those things are perceived by what we took in. You know, um, we're not going to be strong all the time. A lot of times people's like, "Oh, you're strong. You can handle it." Well, most times, they even the strongest people, even the strongest people, gets weak, gets weary, and what happens if they don't have a um a certain foundation or a shoulder, somebody who can pick them up while they are weak, somebody who can help them carry their load or their weight. They're going to be, fragile. They're going to start being fragile. But is always something that is within the strongest people, that is this endurance about us. Is this endurance about, no matter what happens, you keep going, you keep pressing, because at the end of the day, you still have a goal to reach. You still have a dream that has to come to pass. You still